Once again, a very happy new year to you too. This is Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. Happy new year to you and yours. You're listening to the Smooth Breakfast for the first time in 2025. It is 32 minutes past 7 a.m. Ayokunmi right here with you, ready to walk you into the first freshly pressed of the brand new year. It's a new year, but the news, it never ever stops. It keeps going on. We are here to keep an eye on what's going on, to bring it to your attention and walk you through things. That is not going to change. And it's going to be the same pattern, more or less, this brand new year of 2025. Looking forward to more and more freshly pressed sessions with you and yours as well. And yeah, joining me for the first time this year to take a look at the stories Lakunle and Devoe are in. Good morning to you, Lakunle. Good morning to you, Devoe. And happy new year to the both of you.
Good morning, Ayo. When you said for the very first time, I was a bit concerned, but okay. Just getting used to 2025. Happy New Year to all our listeners. Good morning, Devoe. And last year we said we're not going to grieve for anybody. What's the matter for this year?
I think we shall continue on that note. Devoe, good morning to you.
Morning, AY. Morning, world, Lagos, Lakunle. It's a new year, 2025. 2025. Cool. Everything will happen.
Mm.
Everything will happen.
Everything
It's
will
been,
must happen.
yes, everything. So let's make it happen this new year. You know how it goes now. We've got to feed the nation and we've got to make sure Nigeria gets its glory back.
Most definitely. Most definitely. That is what everyone is all about. That's what we most want. No matter what it is that we talk about on the show, no matter how we feel, we're all looking out for the betterment of Nigeria. Join us this morning on the discussion to share your thoughts on the stories that we're talking about by sending your messages in on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981 0809 That is the WhatsApp number. You can also join us on YouTube, where we are streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, Devo, let's jump into our first story this morning and this year. I'm not going to get tired of saying that yet. We're heading into The Guardian, and it's talking about Nigeria's population. You spoke about feeding the nation earlier on. Well, we have a lot of people to feed, as Nigeria has been forecasted to have a population of about 237 million by 2025, increasing from about 235 million recorded in December 2024. Now, this is based on the latest United Nations data as estimated by Worldometer, which shows that between 2023 and 2024, the country's population increased by about 4.7 million people. Now, Nigeria's population is, according to this report, is equivalent to about 2.85% of the total world population, and the country ranks number 6 in the list of countries and dependencies by population. So this is a report based on United Nations data. We haven't still conducted the census yet, and it seems like we'll do that this year. And the numbers just might be higher than this, but according to this estimate, Devoe, 237 million this year, 2025. Where does this leave us if these numbers are as accurate as it can be?
Well, I wouldn't say accuracy. Worldometer is not an empirical means of getting population. However, what it does is it takes average analysis on various um, um, takings or readings to give you an idea of where your population is at. So what they're targeting here is, if we just go by their facts, that by 2025, which is where we're at, that our population has increased another margin again to about 237 million, right? Now, it's good that we're starting the year with some of these statistics, because one thing is, when you know where your problem lies, you have solved half the problem. And that's an issue and a policy that we need to introduce into government, telling the truth about situations, scenarios, economy, security, education, health, so that we can begin to know how to fix it. One of the problems and the bane of Africa, most especially Nigeria, as the largest black nation in the world, is that we keep running around in circles. Like you said, administration to administration is like we keep hearing the same promises. So I'm happy that these statistics are coming out and we should take note of them. First of all, Nigeria represents 2.85%. That's just averagely 3% of the world's global 8 billion people. Okay. Not to talk of the fact that we're the biggest or the largest black nation in the world. Okay. Now, this data, like I said, it's not so accurate because here it's saying that Lagos is at 15 million. Lagos has been at 20 million for some years now, with 5 million people coming in and out daily. So that puts Lagos at 25 million people. It says Kano, second largest city, at 4 million. I think Kano is hovering around 10, while Ibadan is also around 10. Then Abuja, Port Harcourt. Basically, what it's saying here is that our cities are growing, population density at 60%. Now, population density, sorry, not population density, urban rural density, which is we have 60% of our people in urban areas, and then the 40% rural population. Now, what that also shows us is that we haven't grown if our rural population is still huge. And when I say huge, in the sense that the bulk of our people are in urban areas, whereas
Right.
if development takes place across, you won't have this huge parity. Secondly, it now says the median age of Nigeria is 17.9. Let's take that at 18 years. Let's even max average that at 20. What that means is we have a young population compared to most populations in other climes. In China, in Japan, it's hovering around 40, 50. In America, it's at 35. In averagely in Europe, it's at 40, 50. So it means Nigeria has contendingly one of the youngest populations in the world. What does that mean to most other people? You can hear the Chinese. I don't know whether you people took it on the story. The Chinese and the Japanese were doing it for about 2 decades. They have a dying population. The bulk of their population, meaning 80% of their population, averages from 40 to 80, whereas they have fewer people because their citizens, maybe based on the one child policy, which they did long ago to tame their population,
Right. Right.
made their citizens lose interest in giving birth. Now, Nigeria, on the opposite, and this is where it matters, apart from the fact that, let me just add another statistics. Life expectancy for males is around 54 years, females is also around 54.5. The point is, we so many people are born, but we don't live too long in this country. Okay, that speaks to the quality of living, the standard of living. Secondly,
Correct.
whilst all these other advanced nations have dying populations, the bulk of their populations are aging, they have an idea that what's going on in Nigeria, Nigeria has a younger population, means Nigeria has potential working class individuals, meaning how well are we optimizing this youth, this energy? How productive are we? And as you can see, in terms of our power indices, we're just producing 4,000 megawatts. Our budget is roughly $50 billion. We're not a productive nation. And these are the indicators that we need to take into 2025 in terms of planning, in terms of with our, let's just forget the increase. Let's use an average of 200 million. How well is your business optimizing the numbers of people in this country? I get it. There's not enough infrastructure. This
Right.
shows you, these indicators and statistics shows you where we should be heading. And like I said, feeding the nation. For a nation that has so many people, so many solid minerals, how did we end up unable to feed ourselves with all the land that we have? So what I'm just basically saying is that we have the truth about our situation laid out in front of us. What we do with it in 2025 is the question. How we go about it is another question, between
Indeed.
whether when we arrive at 2026, whether we'll be better off than the starting that we have had. So Nigerians, please, as you enter the new year, all these statistics tells you that there is opportunity. It's how you go about it that will define where you end up.
Hmm. Very well said, Devoe. Thank you for sharing those thoughts there. Looking at those very interesting numbers. Lakunle, let's jump into the Punch newspaper right now. Let's talk a little bit of politicking here. Now, the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has again urged Nigerians to be patient with President Bola Tinubu as he grapples to fix the nation's economy and touch the lives of Nigerians across the ethnic divide. Now, he said Nigeria was on life support before Tinubu was elected as president in 2023, adding that despite the ugly situation, the president was determined to fix the battered economy. Now, of course, as we're starting 2025, in a couple of months, we're talking about 2 years of the Tinubu administration, and we've heard this rhetoric before. Nigerians need to be patient, and so on and so forth. Is that something that we're still going to hold on to as we start 2025, or is the patience of the people, waning even more day by day?
Ayo, this is 2025. We are not going to start on an angry note. We're going to just start on a culturally and historical note.
All
I think
right.
that I've lived long enough in Nigeria as an adult, yeah, to even appreciate some of those things. There's never been a time that Nigeria had not been on life support. Why do I say that? Each time there's a change of government, there's always this rhetoric about, the previous government is even better than now. It would go back to a time in Nigeria when we had what was popularly called austerity measures. There was a time when food items that was ordinarily taken for granted became what we called essential commodities. There was a time when we said that it was SAP. There was a time it was fuel scarcity that caused everything. There was a time it was what's it called? It was foreign restrictions on Nigeria because of military government, and so on and so on. So every time a new government comes, we are very revisionist and say, the last one is better than this current one. What makes it more interesting to say is that this same man who has said this was one of the biggest cheerleaders of the past leadership, either in his former party or his current political party. He spent 2 terms as governor in a party, then became a senator in another party, and is now Senate president in another party. You get what I mean? So,
Right.
and if you look at it the way he said, life support, give him time. Yes, the man has said, I begged for the job, I campaigned for it, I asked for it, don't pity me. That is why we are not, that's why some of the voices you hear, you cannot blame them, because the man carrying the can himself has said, don't pity me. Yeah, it is granted. But you see, the problem I have with this kind of statements is that we're pushing every reason for where we are at the federal government. Senator Akpabio was governor of a state in Nigeria for 8 years. Can we go back to that state and say that what were the developmental indices as at the time became governor and what they were when he left? What was the difference? What has been added to that indices since he left office by the new person? All of these actions, when we divert people's attention to the federal government all the time, the federal government is not in charge of education at the primary and secondary level, though secondary is a bit here and never here, neither here nor there. Primary health is the responsibility of the state government. Food business, responsibility of the state government. So much more than the basic things, food, lights, road, majority of it are in the purview of the state government, right? So if all of these things are not working, why are we looking at the federal government? The money that is shared from the federal education, the states get majority of it. Akwa Ibom is number 1 or number 2, or in fact, Rivers is number 2 or number 1. Bayelsa is number 3. Lagos is number 4. Delta is I can't remember the exact number, but those states I've mentioned, all of them are in number 1 to 5. Kano is there. What are the developmental indices that the governors of those states have done? Let's for a moment forget the federal government exists. You have shared money at FAC. You have got 13 billion. Now there is a Niger Delta Development Commission. There is a Ministry of Niger Delta. There is Southwest Development Commission. There's Northeast Development Commission. Federal government is the one that's doing all these ones, right? So all these monies are coming to the states. What are they doing with it? But yet the man is telling us to be looking at the federal government, and they are excusing the inactivities of the people who are primary to us. And I think in 2025, all of us should look more at our local government chairmen, our state governors, than we look at the federal government, because those are the ones that touch our life the earliest, the quickest, and the nearest.
All right, thank you for those thoughts there, Lakunle. I mean, looking at where we are, we've been talking about these issues for quite a while. So much focus is being put on the federal government, not enough scrutiny on the state government, on the local government, where a lot of the issues actually are, should I say, domiciled. Yes, the federal government has its own issues, its own failings, but we need to also look inward, look at those who are closest to us in terms of the local government and the state government as well. It's 2025. We need to do things differently to get different results as we go forward. Let's take a break. When we come back in, we'll be talking about the whole buhaha, if I can say so, between Nigeria and Niger as well. We'll find out what's going on there and, of course, give you the updates. Keep it tuned to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Oh,
Let's make it faster so that we can do more than 2 stories each. Devoe, share you here.
Devoe, you're muted in case you're talking.
Devoe spent 12 minutes talking about population.
Welcome back into Freshly Pressed on New Year's Day on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station. Welcome along to the ride with us. And if you're just tuning in, happy New Year to you. Ayokunmi here, Devoe and Lakunle also with me on this journey this morning, starting the year on a perfect note, looking at the stories making the rounds. Join us and share your thoughts with us on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981, 0809 444 0981. That is the WhatsApp number. Also join us on YouTube or streaming at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, Devo, let's talk about Nigeria and Niger. Heading into the Daily Post. Now, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has reaffirmed its commitment to peace, stability, and regional harmony in West Africa. And the assurance followed a recent statement from the president of the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland of Niger, that's Abdurrahman Chiani, who alleged that the Nigerian government was colluding with France to destabilize his country. Devoe, your thoughts on this?
Well, this is like, would I say, one of the most important issues that we have neglected in this nation as regards development. After your national economic strategy, what comes next is your foreign policy. Your foreign policy is everything to your sustainability and even towards how you're going to move your nation forward. No nation exists in isolation. And I think almost since the Goodluck Jonathan administration, we've not had strong foreign policy presence. Neither do we have foreign policy strategy. And it has shown with our dropping in terms of not just our GDP, but how we fare and our respect in the League of Nations, to the extent that even though we're bearing the ECOWAS chairman, last year you could see we lost 3 countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, that became Sahel states. Now it has boiled all the way down to the extent that now Niger is sending allegations that Nigeria is cahooting with France to be able to cause destabilization there, which Nigeria has come out to say that no, nothing like that is happening, and that we stand for regional integration. But when it comes to foreign policy, optics is everything. Um, Even though we don't stand for coups, right? Because we're a democracy, um, our brothers, as they say, blood is thicker than water. The people from Niger are first our brothers before we start discussing politics.
Oil
And
is
it's
thicker than blood.
You said?
I said oil is thicker than blood.
Yeah, so it seems as if in all our actions, we haven't shown brotherhood. And that's the truth, because they were trying to break away from their former colonial masters. And here we are, cahooting and becoming romantic with them. Now, it's not a crime that we last with France. I want to see the foreign policy. I want to see, okay, these relationships that we're trying to build with France, what is it all about? Is it, as they say, oh, France is eyeing, since they couldn't get the ones in those countries that pushed them out, they're eyeing the solid minerals in Nigeria. Okay, you're eyeing the solid minerals in Nigeria. Federal government, what steps, what multinationals are coming in from France that are going to optimize our solid minerals? Is it in the energy business? Is it in the construction business? Because nothing
Okay,
has been
Devoe.
stated, you leave the door open for all these speculations that have been coming that we're going to allow France to set up some kind of military base to be able to be spying on Niger and some of their
Niger.
countries once again. I think it should be taken serious, and measures should be taken to sew back what was lost with some of the actions that we have taken with our fellow brothers and sisters across the border. Charity starts at home. If you
True.
can't be in proper cohesion with your brothers and sisters across your own borders in your own West Africa, right? What business do you have trying to say that you can make it happen with people who are many 6 to 10 hours away from you? I think it's something, and it's the least that we could do.
All right.
We've always preached that African nations should stand proud. And here we are, not supporting our fellow brothers to break off properly from the colonial masters to be able to stand in a dignified way. I feel ashamed anytime that Nigeria, after all these years, has not lifted the economy of the West African hemisphere. West Africa is not a foreign land. West Africa is our backyard.
All right,
We can
Devoe.
walk into it freely without any apprehension. So what have we
Mm.
been doing? So I think it's serious food for thought and actions to be done this 2025 for Nigeria. It's our responsibility. What points? What? Why should you call us big brother if we cannot act like a big brother?
All right, Devoe. Thank you for putting it in that light. Lakunle, let's head into the Vanguard right now and talk about the military. Now, the Defense Headquarters, on Tuesday, they said, that's yesterday, they said that the combined ground, sea, and air forces prosecuting the war against insecurity in the country neutralized a total of 10,937 terrorists. They arrested 12,538 others and rescued 7,063 kidnapped hostages. Now, it noted that the offensive, which took place from January till date, resulted in troops significantly degrading the military capabilities as well as the fighting capabilities of the terrorists. Is there, do you agree or disagree with the parallels here in terms of what we've seen, what we've observed, and what has been said?
Well, let me start by first thanking our servicemen across board for their sacrifice, for their sacrifice in keeping the nation safe, so that people like you and I can lay our heads on our pillows and have a good night's sleep and talk on the radio like we are doing this morning. The last 15 to 20 years had been um, neither here nor there for us in terms of insecurity. What started like a SWAT has now become something that's spread across the entire country. That every day, if it's not bandits, it is kidnappers, it is insurgents. We have now deployed names to distinguish between all the levels of criminality that we have all over the place. Now to the numbers. The numbers look impressive, particularly when you look at it standing alone. 10,000 terrorists. My mind would then go to, well, did we make any attempt to identify these 10,000 people that were killed? Were they not identifiable? If we're able to identify them, how many of them are real Nigerians? So that I can put some of our minds, some of us who think that many of these people are not Nigerians, we can say, yes, we are right, or that we're wrong, or something. What test did we do to try to ascertain their nationality? Or there are tests that can be done in laboratories today that can tell me where I am from, even if I don't say it with my mouth, that kind of thing.
Right.
Now, it also went further to say something about the oil, whatever, that they've recovered 56 million liters of stolen crude oil. I know NNPC knows the capability of crude oil that we pump every day. So this 56 million, is that the exact number that is missing? So 56 million against what number that was missing? Was it 100 million that was missing and they found 56 million? Or was it that we don't know the number that is missing, but we just know that we got 56 million back? Those are the kind of numbers that will also continue to encourage us to, but by and large of it is that we're spending so much energy, in my opinion, at the end, at the bottom of the chain of what we need to do at these things. The top of the chain is where the sponsors are. Those are the people that I think that we should go for. If we're able to cut, this thing they say about cutting off the head of a snake.
Right.
The rest of the body of the snake is useless. So that is what I think that we should be aiming for. And I think that 20 years is more than enough for us to have been able to identify one or two of these heads, of these heads of these snakes. Which one of them have we identified? Which one of them have we cut off? If we don't do that, we'll continue expending energy. I hope that it's not that some people are comfortable that our budget for defense is becoming bigger and bigger every day because of this. Let us also consider that for every 10,000 bandits, insurgents, terrorists, whatever kidnappers that you neutralize, there are casualties on the other side as well. There are children, our brothers, our sisters. I am not sure that there is no Nigerian family that has not been impacted by this action of our children, sons, daughters who are serving in the military. I am not sure there's any Nigerian family somehow that has not been impacted. So we would rather go for the head of the heads, the top of the chain. If you can cut it off, then we need to stop, however we're going to do it, we need to stop the freedom which people have in bringing in small arms into this country. Once we're able to do those three things, like I think that we would end this insurgency, plus the politics that is also involved, all of it once we're able to cut off all those things, I mean, it should not be as bad as it has been.
It definitely should not be as bad as it has been. And I will say this, Lakunle, you talked about cutting off the head of the snake and all that. We'll always go back to that list that was said to have been handed over to the federal government by the UAE, containing a list of those sponsoring terrorism in the country. We don't know if any of those names have been, picked up, looked at, or anything has happened with that particular list. But if we're talking about cutting off the head of the snake, I mean, I want to believe that with that list that was said to have been handed over, that definitely would have been a very, very good place to start. So
your guess is as good as mine on that matter.
Well, let's hope we get serious about wanting to cut off the heads of the snake completely and end all this madness that we've been going through for the last number of years. All right, what's up here? Devoe, happy new year to you as well. Thank you for always keeping tuned. He says a country with adequate welfare packages and support for her citizens will genuinely be able to give perfect data on its population. But here in Nigeria, a census and population are manipulated for revenue purposes and political intentions as well. He also says Nigeria has lost her place in the League of Nations. That is why Niger could summon the courage to look Nigeria in the eyes and make a bold statement like that. This couldn't have happened under President Olusegun Obasanjo. The problem is leadership, I think. And Cisco Delgado is agreeing with your assertions, Devoe. He says he's of the same opinion with you as well. All right, gentlemen, we need to pack it up this morning and call it today on the first Freshly Pressed of 2025. Great way to start the year. Looking forward to more amazing shows with you, Devoe, and Lakunle as well.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. Thank you, Devoe. Once again, our listeners, let's have a wonderful 2025.
All right, Devoe, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm all the way in Moscow. Happy New Year, guys.
All right, Devoe, enjoy your stay in Moscow and just wrap up from the cold. Be fine. Be all right. All right. Thank you for the messages. And of course, keeping it tuned to Smooth 98.1. Do not go anywhere. At 8:15, we'll take a walk into the locker room and begin our year talking about great sporting action. Don't go anywhere.
All right, Ayo.
Chief Lakunle.
So later then.
It's a way, How now, big boy like you.